Well, here we are. After 4 attempts, hey, we're starting off strong with irony. After 4 attempts to adapt the Fantastic Four to the big screen, we finally have the Fantastic Four First Steps. God damn, make a drinking game out of how many times I say the number 4. So Marvel Studios' The Incredibles is out, and boy howdy, I'm happy to report that this movie slaps. If you've seen the marketing for this movie, then you'd know that this is an alternate universe set outside of the mainline MCU films. And man, I gotta say, this movie has the fucking sauce. The retro-futuristic setting is really what makes this movie work. It would have been super easy to just make a mamby-pamby Fantastic Four movie and just call it a day. But no, the creative team really put a lot of work into bringing this world to life. The setting is so fitting for these characters. It brings a sense of whimsy that is accentuated through the production design. The fact that the creative team put so much work into the set designs and practical effects adds so much to the aesthetic of the film. Marvel has been pretty good with world building, and this feels like a real, tangible place. Marvel tends to use a lot of green screen for background shots, and you can really tell when these characters aren't in a real environment, and it can be a little distracting. But here, the practical sets and the animatronics make this world more believable, and again is so fitting for these characters. Yeah, there's a lot of wacky CGI fight scenes, but for the most part, it looks really good. This isn't new for Marvel, but a lot of the time the CG environments look kind of gray and bland, and there's maybe only a few scenes that have this problem. But overall, the visuals look great, besides some weird CGI baby faces. However, there are definitely moments where you can tell the filmmakers are preserving the budget. A lot went into bringing the Thing, Galactus, and the Silver Surfer to the big screen, and it looks really good. But you start to notice a lack of other characters using their powers. Reed has maybe 2 scenes involving him using his stretch powers, and it's kind of annoying. Like, yeah, I know they had this bullshit problem with Ms. Marvel, but I'm sorry, that excuse doesn't work here. It does look cool in the final battle, but when I can tell they're trying to salvage as much money as they can since they already put so much into the visuals and the set design, you start to notice when they're being selective on who gets to display their powers. But to go back to the topic of visual quality, the cinematography really is the cherry on top to making this world stand out amongst other MCU entries. Let's be real for a second. Most Marvel movies look very uninspired and bland, and people don't exactly go around talking about the visual quality of a Marvel movie, but no. This movie is really spoiling us with the color grading. Same goes with the way the film is edited. There are a handful of scenes that utilize multiple frame transitions, and whenever we see a commercial or a talk show about the Fantastic Four, the use of 1960s technology just adds to the overall quality of the film, and again, makes it stand out amongst other MCU films. It just makes the world stand out exponentially. It feels like a fully realized world that's completely detached from the MCU. Most of the time, Marvel movies just feel like the real world, but with superheroes. But this movie makes this universe feel so unique and appropriately comic booky. With the set designs and the overall aesthetic, it adds an extra layer of charm that makes this feel like a unique and lived-in world with its own history and societal norms. And what's really the cherry on top for all these great aspects is the score. Michael Giacchino is a fucking genius, and it only makes sense that he creates the score for the movie based on the comic that inspired The Incredibles, that he also composed the score for. Goddamn, I think I like this movie just because it's The Incredibles. It's really sad seeing all these great film techniques and creative decisions because it's most likely going to be taken away from us. I'm sorry, I'm a glutton for this shit. Forgive me for being greedy when a superhero movie is being creative and fun. And speaking of being greedy, this does kind of contribute to one of my issues with the film. Yeah, the movie overall looks incredible, and there is a lot of work put into the world building. But this movie is only an hour and 55 minutes long, and there's not a whole lot of time to fit in all of those concepts and events in the film. Don't get me wrong, I love that this movie doesn't forego the typical origin story, because we already know who these characters are. Even for people who don't give a fuck about the Fantastic Four, the film recontextualizes their origins in these special event broadcasts, which is really cool. But it got to a point where I noticed that there are scenes straight up missing from this movie. See, for those of you who don't know, John Malkovich was originally supposed to be in the movie, but at the last minute he had his scenes cut for some reason. And once you know that, you start start to see a lot of the cracks start to form. It's not like it's a chopped up, inconsistent mess like Justice League, but you start to realize the first half of the movie is rushing to get to the eventual confrontation with Galactus. I'm not one to say that movies must always be over 2 hours long, especially superhero movies, but it's kind of a letdown knowing that there was probably a lot more build-up and time for the characters to really showcase more of their traits and eccentricities. The movie keeps jumping from point A to point B, and after a while, it starts to get a little disorienting. I will say on a separate note that it is a little funny that the opening scene is edited together in a certain way where the filmmakers are trying to rush to the main plot. Now maybe this was the point and they were trying to cut all the self-evident scenes of our characters in order to get to the driving force of the plot, but I can't help but feel a little annoyed knowing that there was some fat trimmed in order to rush the build-up. This is kind of a spoiler. There's a moment in the film where the team devises a plan to protect the Earth, and it goes by without a second thought. Immediately, they get to work on it, then it's destroyed like a few minutes later. I don't know, it just seemed a little silly to have all these events happen at once, only to immediately take that away and then troubleshoot a new plan. It makes more sense when you've seen the movie, so I'll just leave it at it was rushed and kinda silly how quickly it comes and fucking goes. You might just think that I'm a gluttonous freak who just wants more movie, and yes, I do, suck my nuts, but I think it would have been more narratively significant for the film to allow us to see these scenes and the characters play out in an acceptable time frame. It's like in Superman where a lot of the best scenes in the movie are the scenes where characters are just interacting or showcasing their personalities and their place in the world. If they had a few more scenes like that, instead of minute interactions and immediately jumping into the immediate threat of the plot, I feel like this would have greatly improved the film. It's not like these characters and the story are bad, I just feel like there's something missing that could have made this a much more complete movie. I don't know, maybe a couple years later we'll get the Shackman cut of Fantastic. Who fucking knows? That being said, despite my few critiques, I still really enjoyed this movie. The actors bring enough charisma to their roles, the movie looks incredible, and there is a genuine amount of exciting action set pieces that make this stand out amongst your typical Marvel slop. And to keep it a $150 with you, I think this will start to turn people's perception of the Fantastic Four around, and maybe they'll start getting the love they deserve. It is a shame that this is connected to the overall MCU, because I would be totally fine with just watching a film about these characters set in this whimsical, retro-futuristic world. Yeah, this was a knockout for Marvel. And I'm really happy that the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia director made this shit with a lot of passion in order to bring these characters and this world to life. It gave me a feeling like the Silver Age of comics was happening in a movie format. Also, a quick shout out to the filmmakers for showing love to Jack Kirby. I won't spoil anything, but the alternate universe number used in the film is a reference to Kirby, and it left me feeling a little something deep. It had my heart feeling less gloomy and empty, y'all. This movie has the sauce, and I'm sad we won't have this level of quality in the MCU for a long time, but with that being said, I'm giving The Incredibles First Steps an 8 out of 10, baby. It was a good movie. What else could I possibly say? Well, I mean, I could say it was pretty fantastic.